All right, guys, let's go ahead and warm up. Welcome, everyone. So this month, we are focused as a highlight, which is, of course, most appropriate because of what's going on the planet. We're focused on the immune system. This is our highlight for this month. Go ahead and take that hand, one of the hands, right hand on top for the guys, left hand on top for the ladies, or experiment with it as you desire. Thumb at the lower rim of the navel center, and then place the hands and hold. So if you haven't heard me say this before, in light of the immune system, there are a lot of lymphatics down here. If you ever look up the lymphatic system and look at what's kind of going on in the body, you'll see a lot of lymph nodes down in this area. So people that end up with cancer, for whatever reason, there's a lot of reasons people end up with cancer, but for whatever reason they end up with it, okay, oftentimes this area of the body can be affected. And then, of course, as we know, when you hear about cancer metastasizing, for example, what does that mean? It means it's traveling around the body. There are different ways that the cancer probably travels around the body. Well, there are, but there's also the fact that cancer travels through the what? The immune system. And from a Chinese medicine standpoint, whenever the rivers in your body, that could be the rivers of blood, that could be the rivers of Qi, that could be the rivers of the lymphatic system, whenever they become stagnant, meaning they're congested, there's a backlog, it's kind of like the garbage truck forgot to come for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 months, now you have a problem, okay? So working with this area is very important. Again, this area is lower dantian, Japanese martial arts. It's called the hara, spelled H-A-R-A, but the R is pronounced like a D. And my intuitive daughter, when she was little, about 4 years old maybe, she said, "Dad, why don't they just call it the hot?" Some of you may have, remember me saying that, telling you that story at some point in time. That's a very intuitive thing, because down here in this area, in this vicinity, it is meant to be a furnace. Now, a lot of people, when they first hear that, who maybe they have hot flashes at night, or their feet get cold, or like the people who have cold feet, for example, they go, "Oh yeah, I would like some of that heat." People who have hot flashes go, "Oh God, I don't want any more heat." But when we're talking about lower dantian, this area, okay, lower dantian, we're talking about this cauldron, this cooking pot, related to an area in your low back, relatively low back, as it moves kind of into the mid back, related to the kidneys, into an area called Ming Meng fire in Chinese. And so if you bring your hands back here and hold, as we've been doing lately, I've been doing this more with you lately, holding back here, the upper part of the hand, in general, because everybody's hands are different sizes and so on, but in general and somewhat specific, the upper part of the hand is closing in on the area called Ming Meng fire. There's actually acupuncture points for it. You can look it up online, or maybe one day I'll show you a picture on my phone or whatever the case is on a chart, so you'll have some idea. But if you want to see it sooner, go check it out, look it up. But right now, you're holding in that area. So Ming Meng fire is this idea, concept, and level of Qi, is about true heat. what in Oriental medicine is called a true heat. So a false heat, whether you've heard this before or not, it's a good reminder if you've heard it before. If you've never heard it, grab onto it. It's powerful knowledge. When you have a false heat or an erroneous heat, for example, when your lower dantian is congested, it's filled with stress, anxiety, fear, you're eating to suppress your feelings of anxiety or your feelings of depression or fear, etc., which is what people do, most people, in general, I'll say it like that. And so when you eat and drink to suppress that fear, that anxiety, that depression, you start creating poison and toxicity in your body. Now, you're going to create more poison and toxicity if you're eating a donut versus eating a piece of broccoli, but you get the idea. Either way, it's going to create some degree of toxicity in the body, and now the body has to clean that up. So this is why fasting, intermittent fasting for periods of time, 3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, intermediate fasting is very, very important for your health. From a Qigong perspective, when you fast and you practice your Qigong, not only is it an excellent form of weight loss for those of you that are looking to lose a few pounds, it is an excellent exercise in burning up, not just calories, but burning up the toxicity in your body. So one of the first things I tell people if they're wrestling with any kind of dis-ease, and if I was personally, let's come back to the front again, just to give our arms a rest, but keep working this lower dantian, creating and stoking the fire of true heat here, as we discuss and practice, working with lower dantian and working with Ming Men fire. At least some of you, if not all of you, have heard me make the reference before. If you've ever seen the picture of like a Buddha and the belly is in the picture opened up, there's a fire here. And the fire burns, and then the fire rises, and it goes up and it goes through the crown. In general, and also somewhat specific, because there are different levels of Qi, one of the primary forms of concentrated Qi is Kundalini. Kundalini sits where? Right there. Said to be an unawakened energy. It is said in general, and again, somewhat specific, somewhat general, somewhat specific, because I could go into greater detail, but the lightning strike of Kundalini comes down. The lightning strike of Kundalini comes down. Where? From heaven, in general. Comes down from heaven, boom. The lightning goes back up. The short story is that human beings, on the level of consciousness, they didn't go back up. Some did. They're called angels. Some did. They're called Buddhas. Some did. They're called Christs. That's called enlightenment, when you go back up with the energy. Human beings, imagine this for a minute. While you're holding the lower dantian, I'm going to keep doing a little storytelling. Hopefully you'll appreciate that. So I come down to earth. You keep holding here, okay? But watch my dramatic performance at the same time. You come down to earth. And then you look around and you go, oh my God, and maybe you become a little too identified with your fear and everything else. And so look, you're staying down here to fight or flee and all this. Meditation is when you start standing still or holding still in some capacity, conscious movement, etc. You begin taking the energy, and not just the energy, you begin taking the consciousness up the chakra ladder. Not just the chakra ladder, there are many other energetic pathways, but that is a primary pathway. The dantians are also primary. So holding, lighting up your belly, creating true heat. Again, I highly recommend some days, do this while you're fasting. Bring your hands here now. Also, as I've said in previous episodes here, continue to also do this while you're lying in bed in the morning. You will save yourself a lot of doctor's bills. You will interrupt a lot of the inflammation in your body that's being created. It's very simple, really. I already told the story, but I just want to reiterate. It's so simple on one level, so simple. What's causing disease in the body is the stagnation. That's what's causing the pain, etc. And it's happening because, guys, we live in stress, we live in fear, we live in anxiety. We just do. Our society's in that state. And so to some degree, we live there. The more we eat when we're in that state, etc., the more problems that we have. So I personally, when I'm stressed, I have my own anxiety or whatever I have going on, I purposefully will not eat. It drives Tanya crazy, but Tanya and Bella be like, eat something. I'm like, no, not eating until I shift this energy. As soon as I shift the energy, I'm happy to eat. But I'm not, unlike some people who will come home, maybe stressed out from the day or whatever their story is. Let's just go back here one more time. Okay. They'll come home, they're stressed, or it could be lunchtime, you know, and they will be in a fear state, they'll be in an anxiety state. And then they just start inhaling, and I say that very specifically, inhaling their food. Rather than eating it, tasting it, chewing it mindfully, they inhale it. If you want to gain weight, that's the quickest way to gain weight. If you want to lose a few pounds and become a little bit healthier and so on, the next time you're afraid, the next time you're stressed, the next time you have anxiety, don't eat your lunch. Try and push it off for a little while. Practice some of these practices right here, because your Qigong, listen carefully, those of you that want to catch this, catch it. Your Qigong will work for you quicker. Quicker. The Qi will rise quicker. Your digestion will move quicker. Because before you can get to the juicy alchemy, you have to move your digestion. You have to move some of the sludge that's going on in your body. All right, let's go ahead and shake that off. That's a nice, good warm up. That in and of itself could just be a practice unto itself. It is an excellent practice for the immune system, especially if you do it in conjunction with fasting. Fast for 3 hours. Then at the end of the 3 hours, practice your Qigong, watch what happens. All right? Put out my incense there. All right, let's go ahead and move the body now. This is another excellent exercise that you guys should all know by now. Okay, and it moves the stagnation in the lymphatic system. So this is an excellent exercise for the immune system. It is another exercise that is excellent for the immune system. Moving, twisting, turning. I also have some good news for those of you that have been tuning in. I'm still obviously dialing in the microphone. That's taking me much longer than I would like, but I think we're getting closer. But the landlord here actually put in a cable in the wall behind me, put in a port, I should say, for a cable. So hopefully soon, I just have to figure out what kind of cable to get, etc. But he just put it in. We should also have even better internet than we've had already. So some of those days when it's storming and other things, the internet's not as strong. Anyway, gonna have a cable and plug that into my computer, and hopefully that will help us. Let that unwind. Screw your feet into the floor, hold for a moment. Another excellent exercise coming up for the immune system. Press down, then take your hand, come off to the left. So press down, my right hand. Just come off to the left. This is the one where we're going to go around this way. Go to the ear, over the top of the head. This is a great one because it opens up the backs of your arms and your lats and stuff. We don't typically move like this, so I find this to be a very good one. We haven't done it in a while. I'm going to remind you of it. Thumb, hand, come up. Thumb, ear, skip it, go over. This is like you're pulling water forward in the pool. And then artistically bring it back around. Do what feels good there. It doesn't have to be exactly right, but it shouldn't feel wrong, if that makes sense. And push. And then I'm going to lift up that other hand, reach, pull, send some of that water forward. I'm just going to come around, forward, around, forward, around, forward. Couple more. Forward. Take your feet, left foot go back. A lot of times we go right foot, go back to our surfboard. Take your left foot, go back to your surfboard. From this position, press your hands down toward the floor. So you have this movement, you're here, slide and press. When you get to this position, this should feel very stable. If it doesn't, adjust your feet. They might need to go a little wider. If they're too wide, it would look like this. This is too wide. This is too narrow. I need to find somewhere in between. Press and hold. When you do an exercise like this, for example, and I'll show you this way also just so you can see. If you can't do this in the back for whatever reason, your Achilles heel is too tight or something, whatever, you can also turn this foot so that it's this way. Like in a yoga warrior pose, a little bit more sideways, but whichever one of those works for you. But you're here and you're pressing down. When you do an exercise like this, this is a grounding exercise. You're grounding yourself, especially if you can feel stable here. You're very powerful here. Your chi is powerful. Upper body should be very relaxed. It's very relaxed. This is sink, and you're very weighted. And then bring the other foot up. Same now, slide back my other foot. Again, I want to find that ideal location and position. And from once I get it, again, if I need to adjust it, adjust it. The more you do this, the more you'll find the sweet spot pretty much right away. That's called knowing your body. And then press down. It's not a heavy press. There's hardly anything. I'm hardly doing anything with my arms, but I sink my body. So if you see what I do with my heel there, I might come up and then I sit. I come up and I sit. My whole weight comes down to that position. You may begin, you should begin at some point to start to feel the energy changing here and dropping mind, so on, coming down to lower dantian. The hands become an extension of your mind. So very good, come back. In through the nose, out through the nose and mouth. Just a couple of breaths. So we're going to add to this a little bit. This time when I go back, I slide the foot. I'm going to press. Sometimes we do this from different positions, right? So I press here first, and now I press the fingertips, palms. And then this is like rolling, has this unique feel to it. If you, like I can do this where my arms are almost like completely limp and I just kind of go like that. That's not it. You're here and you're flexing to some degree. You're like stretching that way, stretching that way. So you're here and you're stretching, like you're plugging the fingertips into the earth. And then from that position, fingertips come back toward your body. Curl the hands, roll them over, palms are open. Don't go too wide here, stay close to the body, about here. And then press, and don't overreach. I'm only here, not here, or here, only here. Okay, so from this position, I press, I curl, I keep the elbows in close, turn the hands over, and I press. Now we're going to flow with it. I push down. Let me show you one quick variation. We're going to flow with it a little more quickly. See the back leg? When I'm in a stationary position, I can just go like that. I can. Okay? When this becomes a little bit more fluid, for those of you who want to catch this, I will tell you when we go a little bit quicker, it's easier as I sink my weight here, I'm going to turn that foot. I'm going to turn. And as I go here, I'm going to turn it forward again. My foot turns, and I'm going to turn it forward again. If you can't incorporate that yet, don't worry about it. But if you see me doing it, I don't want you to be confused. So at least now you know. So we're going to go from here. I'm going to press. I'm going to drop this, and I'm going to push. Press, turn, push. Press, turn, push, press, turn, push. You can also, you see what I'm doing with that front foot? You can rock up on it. Push. Foot comes back, press, press, push, press, press, push. So this particular stance then is a little more, so I'm going to go to the other side now. It's a little more like we're on the surfboard. When we do the whole thing a little quicker, this is a better stance to do it in if we do it a little quicker. We go down, we curl the hands, and we press, push, curl, press. When you go here, that's getting grounded. When you go here, you're grounding even more on some level. And then when you go here, that's also all grounding, grounding, grounding. Then from the ground, you're pulling the chi, and you're expressing the chi forward, which on the level that it is a form of Wei Qi. So again, press, roll. Breath-wise, exhale. Here you could inhale a little. Hold your breath here. Exhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Couple more. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Bring the foot up. Reach up. If it feels right to breathe in, go ahead and breathe in. If it doesn't, just make the movement without the breath. Inhale. Exhale. Some of you later, when you're watching the video, I'm having a foreshadowing. Some of you are going to be like, is he chewing gum? Yes, I am. Did you know that when you click your teeth together, that is a Qigong practice? Chewing gum, although I highly recommend chewing healthy gum, and not chemicalized gum and so on, sugar-ridden gum. But when you chew gum, you're actually turning on all of those juices in your body. And every once in a while, just as a side note, I recommend try practicing your Qigong while chewing gum, because clicking your teeth is a Qigong practice. I don't do it very much because I don't like to click my teeth without gum in between my teeth. Slow those hands down now. Very purposeful, emphasize the exhale. From this position, we're here, horse stance. I lean and reach with my elbow. I pull from the side, feed the lower dantian. Different ways to do this ever so slightly, but one way is, you see how I'm making that leg long over there? So I make this leg long as I reach with my elbow. Elbow goes one way, my leg elongates. Then I shift my stance, I elongate my other leg. Sometimes you'll see this one, the hand is turned over. This is a form of reeling silk. Some of you have certainly seen various forms of this. This can also then be turned over. Elbow, I elongate my left leg. If I'm going to my right, I elongate my left leg. As I go to my left, I elongate the opposite leg, which is my right leg. That's my exhale. This is my inhale. I switch, I go with my left elbow. Reach. This other direction now to my right. That can be an inhale. This starts the exhale. Exhale finishes here. Notice what I'm doing with my other hand. I'm kind of holding a couple of fingers without even thinking about it, but it's a good practice. Holding that lower dantian, having an emphasis on lower dantian, which is that first Wei Qi field. I'm gonna go one more. I'm not exactly sure. Feels balanced to me, but I'm not exactly counting because I'm talking to you. But in general, if you were going to do 5 on the right, you'd want to do 5 on the left, kind of like that. I think we did about 6 there. Exhale. Nice, easy. Inhale. Exhale. I was talking to one of my students today. Place your hands here as if in honey. This is our Wei Qi exercise. We pull from the ground. There's different ways to do it. The first way, I'm going to stay in my horse stance. I'm not going to lift up. I'm only going to lift my arms. Once I get to the chest, I will elongate my legs. Now I go up and I come down. As I'm coming down, I bend the legs and I sit. In this form of the exercise, I'm pulling from the ground. The legs are bent. Here, the legs go straight. I become tall, and then once again, I squat. I pull from the ground in this variation. The legs do not move yet. Once the hands get to the chest, the legs come up. I go big, I go wide. I exhale. I sink my weight in my mind. Now my mind here, this is important on this one, the mind stays heavy in the body, heavy in the body. The arms pull some of that heaviness, that's like the grounded energy, up, okay? Then everything becomes lighter. You go here and you're like air, okay? This is like air or heaven, chi. Exhale. Earth chi, you're going to pull it. Then you're here. Then exhale. If you want to work with the breath, this can be here. Inhales through the nose. Right there, my breath is full. I squeeze a little more. And then here I exhale. I inhale. My breath is relatively full. I squeeze a little more. I exhale. If you get lightheaded at all with that, skip your breath this time. Just bring the hands, then reach, focusing just on the chi, leaving the breath alone so that you can catch up with yourself. You might exhale here. Lift, reach. I'm going to do a couple more with the second variation, which is from here as I'm pulling up, because as you start to get tired, this next form becomes easier. Inhale and straighten up your legs right away. And then exhale. Sink the legs. As you're coming up, stand up tall right away. Easier on the legs. It's not quite as grounded as the other one, but that's okay. Depends on what we're trying to do. Take the right hand. This one called bringing up the sea of chi. Come up the center line to the forehead. Go down the left arm. You can be touching or hovering in the field. Brush it off at the end. Other side, coming up. I'm lightly touching today. It just feels like that's what I want to do, need to do. Come here, check this out. Rub the third eye. 2, 3, 4, 5. Go down the arm. Push that excess off. Coming up, the other hand. Traveling up the body. Traveling to the forehead. Don't worry about which way the chakra spins and all of that right now. Just think of this as like clearing the third eye, like you're washing it. Okay, wax on, wax off. And then come down the arm and brush it off. Coming up. 2, 3, 4, 5, and brush it off. Coming up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and brush it off. Get down to the bottom. Inhale, exhale. And before we break to get a sip of water, let's go ahead and hold your lower dantian. So one of my students told me this interesting story this morning. She has a master's degree in psychology, and she is trained in heart math, amongst other things. And so these are the folks, if you're familiar or not familiar with them, that like to bring in the gadgets to their training. And they try and teach people how to bring the heart and the brain, which, by the way, in your understanding of what I've been teaching you, would be what? Middle dantian and upper dantian. So heart math is based on, from my perspective, I don't know a lot about it, but I know some about it. And I know that their big teaching is bringing the heart and the brain into coherence. So from a Chinese medicine standpoint and a Qigong standpoint, we're talking about bringing the middle dantian and the upper dantian into alignment. Great idea. Fantastic idea. She was saying that it was very interesting because she does a lot of teaching and a lot of groups and so on. And she is in our certification program. So she's actually teaching some pretty large numbers of people at these different companies and so forth. And she brings out the Qigong exercises and then puts people on these heart math monitors where they're hooked up to their telephones or their computers to see what's going on in terms of the coherence between their heart and their brain, etc. And she was saying that, find your breath, take an inhale through the nose. Before we get that sip of water, let's go one more time, Wei Qi, because the story is about this Wei Qi exercise right here that I taught her. So from here, inhale, go here. She says when they do this exercise, even for the very beginners, the heart-brain coherence goes off the charts. Exhale. Inhale. Go up and exhale. And I don't know what their points are or what they represent. Like I said, I don't have enough knowledge of that particular discipline to speak to it, except to say that she was saying, for anybody that knows heart math, for example, she was saying people, when they started out just doing it, they were like in this coherence of 1, which apparently is like less. And she said it's kind of unheard of to be up in a 3 or up in a 4. Like it takes quite a bit to make that happen. And she was saying that the individuals and the groups were coming together with this coherence that was up in the high 3s and the 4s. Exhale. Inhale. Spread it out. You're big here. Remember what this one is right here. Those of you that have heard me say this before. This exercise in and of itself right here, right in the middle of Wei Qi, is called Red Roots Grow Deep. I have no idea what the traditional name of this Qigong exercise is. I created that name to help us understand what we're trying to do. You're like a big redwood tree here. Your arms are like branches. Qigong is very much about having a strong, sturdy frame, like a tree growing roots. And if you exhale here and inhale, you can see how that exercise is right there in the middle of Wei Qi. Bring us back. Pause here for the first half of our class. Stay with me for just another 60 seconds here to charge our middle dantian. And then we will get some water and continue. And move that, move the feet. It's wonderful if you have your water nearby when you're practicing your Qigong, because guess what? Dr. Emoto's pictures of water, the hidden messages in the water, you're downloading your water with that energy. It's fantastic. And anytime the group gathers and we bring our energy together, the energy, of course, is going out. It's Qing your neighborhood, it's Qing my neighborhood. And it's Qing the water. All right, let's go into this practice now. Look at this nice, happy, smiley Buddha. Does that particular exercise look like an exercise that you all know? This one Slight variation from what the Buddha is doing there, interlocking the hands, which the Buddha is not doing there. But this one up, holding up the sky, this exercise is called. Now take a look at what we're doing in this exercise. A lot of people want to know, what does this Qigong exercise mean? What are you doing in this exercise? And some people don't really know, and then there's certain knowledge that's out there that you can go digging for, like what I'm sharing with you here. When you go here, check out where we are. This is lower dantian, right? This is called elevating not just the qi, but the consciousness. Here we interlock the hands, middle dantian. Now what are we doing? We're going up into the upper dantian. When you go like this, you're telling that energy to mindfully move. I mean, check out this position. This is a wonderful frame. Some of you may have a hard time doing it. You may have stiff shoulders and so on. So just do your best you can. If your fingers bother, you can do it like the Buddha is doing there, where your fingers are not interlocked. But either way, when we go here, we're basically telling that energy to go up the spine, to elongate and make us tall. Okay, and not just make us tall, but literally elevate consciousness. Bring up that trapped energy and then release. Get that nice grounding effect as you sink and exhale. Here, make sure you don't move until you're ready to start breathing. As you're ready to start breathing, slow through your nose. Here, interlace. You're holding your breath now, perhaps, and you reach and you stretch. You can exhale. If you're going to hold this for more than a few seconds, you just exhale your breath. You can also now inhale here, exhale, inhale, exhale, as needed, as it feels right to do. And then release, sink, coming up. Inhale, interlace, reach up, stretch, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, release. Sink. Inhaling slow, matching the timing of the hands, reaching up, holding the breath for a second if you desire, exhaling the breath. Release and sink. Inhale, reach, holding my breath. That's one way. And then I exhale. And turn a little to the right. Turn a little to the left. Careful with this one. I want to tighten my buttocks. And then I'm going to reach off a little bit to my left. 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep my buttocks tight. Reach off to my right. 2, 3, 4, 5. Come back to center. Hold. Relax the buttocks. Inhale, exhale. Release. Slow, easy. And then a little tapping on the floor, which looks like running in place, kind of is, but a little bit of an emphasis though, as I've said before, rather than like if I'm running and I want a light run, I want to run on the balls of my feet. Here I'm actually using my whole foot. My whole foot is pounding the ground. Runners that are not as good, which would be me included after a certain number of miles, we run flat-footed, okay? The really advanced runners who are running marathons and everything, you watch them, they don't touch their heels, okay? Anyway, when we are pounding the heels though, this is very good from a Qigong perspective, pounding the whole foot on the ground. Again, it's a pounding. It's not just that we're running in place, although we kind of are. Okay, so you could do this with your hands if you want to. Again, in our situation, not so much for an aerobic exercise as it is Pound the foot, 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 pound the feet, pound the feet. In Tai Chi, they don't pound the foot as much. You see that more in like Kung Fu and karate, arts like that. But the pounding of the foot and the grounding and getting very heavy, very, very good for your body. This also opens up the channels in the legs. And as I mentioned in one of the previous videos here a couple of weeks ago, this calf muscle in the back of my leg is called the gastrocnemius, and it is considered to be a second heart in that it pumps blood. When you use the legs, it pumps blood back to your heart. So very important exercise here. And again, from a Qigong standpoint, what I like to do is I like to move. We have this movement going, movement, 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 get a little tired, movement, and then stop. Hold yourself, try and steady yourself, and then let the rush come, because you'll get a rush of Qi, you'll get a rush of blood. If ever you start to get lightheaded, literally start here, just go like this, and then if you had to, you go down to the floor or something. For some of you, that might happen depending on what you have going on with your blood sugar and where you're at with that in terms of your health. Check this out. We're going to now rock side to side. Similar practice, but different. This one, I'm not pounding the heels at all, but I'm shifting my weight from one side to the other. Be careful with this, whatever feels good to you, but I'm just shifting. 1, 2, 1, 2. This is similar to like when we do 1 and we do 2, but I'm doing it in place and I'm doing it short and it's slightly quicker. Once again, I'm looking to turn my legs into pumps. They're pumping blood back to my heart. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for with this. You can let your arms sway like this if you desire, or kind of hold them still if that gets to be too bumpy, depending on how fast and bumpy you're going. Once again, I want to stop. Hold. Make sure I'm rooted and grounded. Let the rush of that new blood and that new Qi come up. You can even begin to fan. Don't worry about your breath right now. Just fan this up. Take this and bring the Qi and fan it up. As you catch up with your breath, you might find here you exhale, here you inhale, here exhale, inhale, exhale, in. Notice my exhale is a little bit forceful. In order to do that, you actually have to tighten your belly a little bit. I hold it here and then tighten my belly and here you can imagine that energy, you round it, you pull it, right? And then you let it go down. You can also accentuate this a little bit where here, don't hurt yourself as always, but you can pull your arms and elbows back. So you're pulling your shoulders back and you're bringing that breath in there, trying to, and then exhale. Fan up and then try and inhale that, squeeze your shoulder blades and exhale if you want to, but don't do it too much. You don't want to pull a shoulder muscle or something. This is just gentle, mostly energetic. So I'll give you a really casual version, yet the movement is there. Now I don't want to move my hands until I'm ready to breathe, or if I'm getting too much oxygen, like I feel almost like lightheaded here, then I just want to move just the hands. Don't do the breath anymore. Your body needs to catch up to speed. Just the hands. Spread. This can come up this way, fanning, just like we did where we go here. Everybody do that one for a minute if you desire with me. So just like we do this one, we can start like that, come up to about here, and instead of interlacing the hands turn to face your chest. You then round it this way, similar but different to something like this, right? This way and down. Round it, I squeeze my shoulders a little. I put it in the floor. I can also turn my hands like this. I can also, for those of you that have good balance, you may notice, right? See, my feet come off the floor. Be very careful with that one unless you know you have good balance. But I can do that if I have good balance. If you don't have good balance, you might experiment with this. You see what I'm doing there? Only one foot. Then exhale. Then inhale here. Pull it back, lift the other foot. Exhale. Now, if we wanted to get even more technical, same here, inhale, round, lift the foot. And instead of sending general to the front, both hands down that foot, down that leg. Here, then take that energy and lift that foot. As the hands go to full position, the foot goes down to emphasize the grounding of that. So here's the pieces. One, you're inhaling here. Spreading the chi. If you desire, lift the foot. Exhale. Down the leg, but then place your weight in it. Come back. Inhale. Pull that chi back. I can practice with one leg. Exhale. You'll see some people do it just like this. They might even stay here and just the one leg. That's okay. Personally, when you get this going on, I recommend sink your weight, put it in the ground, and then come back, because then you're getting that grounding effect. You're putting it all the way down through the leg. Exhale. This is a very subtle thing, and I'm not even really thinking about it, except that I'm aware of it. When I go here, exhale, it's good to switch up some of these exercises. I hold very light, very light. It's not even a closed fist. A very light on my inhale. I open my hands, exhale. When I'm ready, very light, gripping, practicing the energy of gripping, but in this case, just these fingers, not the thumbs. So it's just like a light grip, very light. Inhale and exhale. And I open my hands. Here, inhale, I close them. Here I exhale, I open them. Inhale, close. Exhale, open. Another form of mindful movement. Inhale, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Once again, hand, hold. This is an obvious, for you guys anyway, it's an obvious charging lower dantian. Inhale, exhale. Bring your hands here to prayer pose, what I call prayer pose or heart mudra. That's how I refer to it in my school. This isn't obvious for you guys and your understanding what I've been sharing here today and previously. This is very much about a middle dantian exercise. Charging, activating, balancing, recalibrating, all of those things would be true. Middle dantian is associated with your second Wei Qi field. Those of you who have taken at least one of the online courses, I don't remember which one I taught this in actually off the top of my head at the moment, it may come to me, but it's been a while. I think it's one of the older ones, might be Golden Dragon, for example. But you can use this exercise, and I'm going to recommend you do it right now for the second Wei Qi field. You can use this exercise to create a shield around you. This particular exercise you will see throughout my programs, and there's so many different things that you can do with it. There's so much magic that can be done just from this one posture, what's called a mudra. Again, a mudra is a static position where you're holding like a statue, but you're holding very specifically. So one of the ideas I want you to imagine right now is put a ball of light around you, a sphere. So if I'm specific here, I would tell you, use the image of a sphere. Put a sphere of light around you. We could do different lights, but right now I recommend just kind of like sort of like a clear yellow, whitish kind of yellow, maybe a little gold energy sort of color. Kind of a mix of those colors, if that makes sense. Watch your breath. Try and relax your shoulders here as much as possible. Even do this if you need to for a minute. As you get better at the practice, you don't want to do that too much, the moving around, but to begin with, it's a good thing to do if you need to. So you're holding. You may feel weird, wobbly in your legs, weak in your legs, etc. It takes time to get used to doing this exercise, especially standing, and especially at the end of a Qigong class. Inhale, exhale, and then pound the feet to ground us out. Okay, so as you can see, that exercise also makes an excellent sort of concluding exercise where you build up the energy. You're practicing exercises related to lower dantian. And remember, if you were in a martial arts school or a Tai Chi school type of discipline in general, you might not really leave behind the lower dantian. All the emphasis is lower dantian. When you get into some of this alchemical stuff, and then a little bouncing of the heels, clicking of the heels, when you get into this alchemical stuff, it really enters into the realm of alchemy and meditation, where you are working with the lower dantian, but you're also very interested in working with the middle. You're also very interested eventually in working with the upper. And in some schools, pound the feet now, you will enter into the school. This is common in yoga schools in general, yogic practices, yogic meditation practices, to be somewhat specific there. And also in certain Zen schools and other forms of meditation. Good job, shake it out like this one more time here. Fingers flicking toward the floor, help us get grounded there. Tossing it behind you, kind of goes a little bit up, but it's also going down first. It goes down, and there's a little bit going up. All right, excellent. So in the yogic schools and in some of the meditation schools and so on, first of all, this here is a mudra. I teach that in some of my other programs. Some of you have learned that. But this particular area here
which if you desire to touch it for a moment, feel free, and you can do it later if you want. But this is the area of the third eye, okay? And this mudra, called the Gyan Mudra in the yogic tradition. Anyway, you'll enter certain schools, and their emphasis, however it's done, could be just, holding attention here. It could be holding this area. But you're taught, just like I teach you in my school, to bring your mind here. And they actually won't teach you or emphasize the lower or the middle dantian too much. Maybe more middle than lower. But the challenge with that is, as I've mentioned previously, is that you don't get the grounding. And so I found personally within my own practices, which is why I teach you what I teach you, is that those exercises are fantastic, amazing. They just don't work really well when you don't live in the temple 24/7. Even when you live in the temple, which I've done some of those live-in things where you're doing those kinds of trainings, I'll tell you the hardest time. The hardest time is when you go to breakfast. The hardest time is when you have to gather with other people. It's very hard to work with very high psychic energies without the grounding aspect. So the reason that I went the Qigong route, and I teach you the Qigong route, is that I think the grounding is extremely important, especially if you're living and moving within the world and you're not living in the temple. And you also don't have maybe the experience of what it's like to almost be walking around like you're on drugs all the time, because that's what the upper centers can be like for people. It's like you're tripping on acid all the time, because acid and all these other drugs, DMT and so on, guess what? They live inside your own body. So anyway, we worked today with the immune system. We're working with the first level of the Wei Qi field, lower dantian, very important. And we worked up to the middle and also some of the upper. Play with that. I hope you enjoy it. May you stay safe from the coronavirus. I want to tell you guys a quick thing for those of you that want to do it. I'm not affiliated with these people in any way, shape, or form. It's not like I'm going to make any money off of it or something. Anyway, but I will tell you a secret remedy that I have found for myself that works very well against any kind of upper respiratory nonsense, which I had at the very beginning of coronavirus. When it first came out, I almost didn't make it to go teach my Hawaii seminar. And my butt was kicked for 2 weeks. And I probably had the coronavirus. I never got tested for it. But anyway, there is a product. There's two different companies you can go to that I know of, but it is called Fire Cider. There is an Ethan's Fire Cider, and then there's another company just called Fire Cider. Some of you may not be able to drink it. You may not like it. But for those of you that do, it is a combination of apple cider vinegar. It also has like cayenne and garlic and onion and honey and some other things in it. I'm telling you, for me, I love the taste of it personally. It's sweet but spicy. And every single time I've had a tickle in here and I'm going like, oh, I don't know, that I take a shot of that, it opens up my throat. It opens up my upper lungs. In the days that I've had challenges where I thought, wow, I'm like really getting something, I've done 3 shots in a day, gone, toast, it kicks its butt. So I want to give that to you as well as part of our immune training today. So stay safe out there, be healthy, have a fantastic day. Thank you again for tuning in. Great to see you all. Keep practicing. I'll see you again soon.